I don't even know where to begin, but I'll begin with the facts. There is no new revenue in this bill. There's shifts, and with all due respect, there's gimmicks of illusions that we are increasing funding for transportation when we are indeed moving money from different sources that are already coming in, putting them into the transportation bill that you presented to us, and we're expected to really fill in the gap that we know exists in funding. So with that, I can't begin to start to support a bill like this. With all due respect, it's a budget year, and you're in the majority, and you're a chair of a committee. And if you have concerns about having enough funding already in the system, we'll go fight for it because it's needed. We all here, for the most part, the majority of the people who testified today are clamoring for that. And you have the leadership, the power as a chair and in the majority to fight for that new funding. I've supported tax revenue, new tax revenue, different controversial ways of being creative to fund that gap. But keeping the status quo is really neglectful, not only for the people on the roads, but the citizens we serve in Minnesota. And I've served on Health and Human Services for 4 years. And there's 60,000 Minnesotans who are turning 65 every year. I hope all of them can drive until they're 90 to get to their medical appointments. But I know my district has heavy senior population, and it's only going to increase in all of our districts, including yours, including Senator Dibble's. And I'm concerned. You said you're not going to look at a budget in silos. We shouldn't, because the money that we're taking away from other parts of the budget, which I'm sure it's coming from Health and Human Services, because it's usually the first place we cut, and it's coming to shift into transportation, it's doing Minnesotans a disservice. We need to be creative, to be fiscally responsible and prudent, to find ways to solve this. But frankly, we don't need another study. And I'm looking through the bill of what came finally in your proposal. There's studies on construction costs, studies on weights and bridges and limits, things that have already been in place that we know are deficient, that we know need more attention. The tolling report that you have, I'm open to those things, but I'm kind of tired of reports. I'm tired of reports, and I want action. And I think most Minnesotans expect us to take action. And to wait 2 more years for another biennium, 2 more years of more expensive construction costs, 2 more years of more crashes, 2 more years of more neglect is only going to cost us more. We know that. It's a fact. It's not an illusion. And it frustrates me. This is my 5th year in this Senate, 5th year in this committee. I've heard it over and over and over again. And yes, I'm passionate about it because where is our action? We keep making a political statement about transportation when you know that people are hurting and dying in our roads for being unsafe, and we keep kicking the can down the road. And I just can't understand why we can't come together as a body and deal with this simple issue. I know we have other differences. Maybe Southwest Light Rail is one of those that will just never agree. But even that, the mechanisms in place in this bill dismantle the entire system for future rail, future transit, blue line, green line, and I don't think that's the direction we want to go. When the house ceiling and roof is falling, we either, fix it, make the investments, but we can't let it fall down. And that's what we're doing with this bill. And again, I understand where some senators are in adamant disapproval or disagreement with Southwest Light Rail. But in my view, that ship has sailed. We've already committed to it. And you mentioned uncertainty. Well, we have always had uncertainty with the federal government. We don't control that at the state level. But we have certainty here as leaders, and you have certainty as the chair of a committee to really set the way for things to move forward. Even if they're controversial, if they're the right things for Minnesota. And you're never going to have a project that's going to be completely 100% supported. That's just impossible. That's an illusion as well. But I represent a district which every single part of the line that touches or serves is in support of this bill. Maybe not Hutchinson, because Southwest does not go there. But if you represent in my district and your mayors and your chambers of commerce are telling you, please support it, I believe you probably give it a second view. I know Senator Osmek doesn't have Southwest Light Rail, or maybe doesn't believe in rail, but that's his prerogative. I think we need to listen to those who are supportive because they know what they're talking about. They've done the economic analysis, the economic development impact in our communities, which is good for all Minnesota, not just metro, not just suburban. It's good for the entire state. We know we pay more in taxes in the metro than in greater Minnesota. And again, I am fine with that. I ride to the cabin. I use those rural roads too. This is about the entire system, and to leave an integral part of the system out to 2 more years when we have another budget discussion is a disservice. And you are in control of that certainty. And I'm begging you to reconsider, to listen to the people that were speaking today. And frankly, we can make this bill a lot better and bring certainty to transportation dollars and accountability. I'm all for that. I don't mind using some general fund money. But again, I've said on Health and Human Services, and the needs are growing. Our population is getting older. Those needs are growing. That is not an opinion, that's a fact. And they cost more. We're living longer. So let's make a real policy analysis about that. And this is not a political analysis. Let's make a policy analysis of why it's prudent investments to actually make this bill better and really stop being neglectful to our crumbling infrastructure. And if you don't believe that, go out to your rural counties and talk to your civil engineers. Nonpartisan, they tell you some of the roads are turned into gravel because they can't afford to keep paving them. And that's not the direction we want to go. Regardless of what you think of trains or other modes of transportation that we have yet even to consider here in Minnesota, like driverless vehicles, let's be open-minded about how we can be efficient, how we can be innovative, not only in our transportation modes, but in our funding. And I think Minnesotans will understand if we actually are true to the need and true to the investments that require those needs to be met. Thank you.